Yo, hey, how's it going? My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT, and we're back with another live stream. Today we have Christoph. He's kind of out of this out of the scene right now as I do the intro. And Christoph is an excellent musician. I know from playing several shows with him. Fantastic artist. Very excited to have him here on the stream. Christoph built his own tracker, and I've known Chris for several years now, and I've learned so much about music production from him. Absolute killer on the analog rhythm. You should check out his YouTube channel as well. But he's also probably the best NerdSeek user that I know, or the person who's put a lot of time into it. And we've talked about NerdSeek for years. And then he built his own tracker on the Valve Steamdeck. And so I'm really excited to check that out. He's going to give us a tutorial on how to use it and do some sound demos for it. And just generally, we're going to talk about it. So I'm going to let Christoph say hello and kind of show us. Can you lift this up for the camera so they can see what's going on here? Yeah, this is a tracker on his Steam Deck, and you can get it on your Steam Deck too. It's completely free, right?
It's completely free, yeah.
Cool.
So you can get it on my website, bleep.toys, and you can just download it for free and use it for free, like no strings attached. I hope it doesn't burn your device. And if it does, I'd like to get feedback on it, because then I can maybe fix it. But yeah, it's like, oh, we should maybe post the link in the chat.
We can pull it up here. Here's the chat coming in.
Yeah, like somebody asked for the link, so I was.
Oh, for the link?
Yeah. So
we can
just
do that.
post the link there. Yeah, but like it just runs on an unmodified Steam Deck, so you only need to exit the Steam mode and like go into the desktop mode, and then you can use it there. So somebody is asking like whether it works on the ROG Ally, and I don't think it does. So basically, like the only requirement basically that the tracker has is that it runs on Linux only, and so the Steam Deck, it's running on Linux. That's why it was like a very convenient target. And so also it means like you don't necessarily have to run it on your Steam Deck either. So like if you have like a Linux laptop, for example, you could run it there too.
Oh, sick. That's really cool. I just shared the link, so if anybody wants to check it out, go for it. But let's check out the tracker right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump over to this perspective here. We have it HDMI'd out from the Steam Deck, piping it out to you. And you can see there's the chat is still active. That's great. And let's get a sound. Let's make sure we got sounds from it.
So what you have here is like a pretty simple, like semi-generative pattern. So basically like the entire tracker focuses mostly on like, so I'm a lazy person, so I don't like to like type out like full patterns and everything. So I like to like program my music in forms of patterns basically. So like, like repeating patterns that like that are still very systematic, but like they keep changing subtly over time.
Like iterations.
Yeah.
Over and over. Okay.
And so what you hear currently is the built-in like polyphonic sample player.
Wait a second. Polyphonic sample player?
Yeah, so it has 8 voices.
Holy
and so like on the left here, you can see a visualization of these voices that are playing. So like it's the actual sample that we are playing. And so you can see like it almost looks like strings. So these are like the individual voices that are being triggered. And so currently we only have like, so it, in this polyphonic mode, it has like 4 columns that you can program notes in.
Okay.
And
kind
so
of like the NerdSeek in that regard of like MIDI.
Exactly.
Polyphonic.
Yes. But it's like, it's way more powerful in that sense, but we'll get to that.
Right.
Yeah, so we currently only hear like one of these columns, and I can go into the pattern settings here. And now I've unmuted like the second column, and hopefully we should get some more sounds on top of it.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'll just unmute more of it, like add more sounds to it.
This is really nice to watch.
Right, like it's very relaxing and calming.
Yeah.
And like it was kind of more of an accident that it looked like that, but I loved
really?
it. And
Yeah.
it was just like so I should say like this polyphonic sampler, like I very quickly hacked it together like on Sunday afternoon. And so I copy pasted parts together from like the monophonic versions of it. So it's like not entirely bug free, but I think it's good enough for showing it off today. And so an interesting bit here is, so like if you notice, like for example, there's like this call command here. So that one allows you to write custom commands in the tracker. So it has like a built-in scripting language. And so like, you know, like in these trackers, you usually have these effect commands. So this is what is currently implemented. And
Reminds me of Fallout.
the
The green font
Oh, yeah.
and like the lowercase notes. Like
yeah, I'm trying to give it like the vibe of like early 80s. So like a crappy Linux terminal maybe.
I like it.
So it's like decidedly pretty retro, but like at the same time I'm trying to make it pretty modern. So for example, like from other trackers you might know it that like you have like just some weird hex codes that you enter here. It's like I at least gave it names. So like you still will enter weird hex nodes or like hex numbers, but it's like it should be a little bit more clear what is going on. And so I can enter into this program here. So this one is not doing very much, but so you can see like it so it triggers like one of these built-in commands. But like I'll go into more detail of this language later. But a fun thing that it allows me to do, so you have a global bank of chord memory that you can program. So you can see like I have these 2 chords that I have prepared. And so on a different track here, so I can now basically control what this other pattern is doing by like it just reprograms this other pattern basically. So if I start this other pattern, like we will soon hear that the chord changes to a different
So one pattern is modifying another pattern?
Effectively, yes.
Okay.
So now you can hear like now it's a different chord.
Oh wow. Yeah,
And so it's like literally like this pattern does nothing else besides like executing this one command here, which just writes a value into like the internal programming memory.
Okay.
And so that way, like the other pattern can decide like which chord should it be using, and it's like just by reading this value from memory. And now since I have this global chord memory, actually now I need to remember which chord we are actually playing. Okay, chord number 1. That's this one here. So we could like change the notes here, and so now the pattern will be changing hopefully.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so it's
Is
like
it like you have a scale on it or something? that
no, it's like
scales?
so it only outputs like notes that are from this chord memory bank.
Okay.
So it's like so I could make it sound horrible by just putting like very out of scale notes here.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Actually, I don't remember.
Suddenly it's music to my ears. I'm
Yeah.
like, ah, yeah.
Okay, let's maybe, like, since I screwed up this chord, let's go back to this one. Okay, no, it's a bit more relaxing again.
Okay, wait. Let's slow down for a second.
Okay,
This is
so-
going very quickly.
Exactly.
What is happening on this screen?
All right,
Could
so
you
that's
explain to me what is? There's all these graphs going and like crazy stuff's happening.
Right.
What is going on?
okay. So so like from a very high level perspective, so it's like a 16-track sequencer.
Okay.
And so for each of these tracks, you can decide what you want to do with it. So if I go to the settings,
So that's pretty unique in the tracker realm when most trackers stop at 8 tracks typically.
right,
So this is 16.
16,
That's
and
what
like
stands out.
and so each of these tracks are also very powerful. So for example, like with one MIDI track, I think at the same time you can send out, I think 64 MIDI notes.
Whoa.
So it's like it should be enough. like
Yeah.
in most cases, I think.
Is there
Um,
like any relationship between like what you drew from to design this with any other tracker, like Renoise, for instance?
So I would say like it's very much inspired from NerdSeek.
Okay.
So NerdSeek used to be my main sequencer in my live setup. And so I had like this NerdSeek combination with Maestro, with Simulator
I
as a
remember.
sampler.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so like I performed a lot with it and I really loved the setup, but there were like a few issues that I could never solve where it was like, for example, like if you program like a breakbeat pattern, like it has to be played at the correct BPM, otherwise everything breaks. And
Right.
when you sequence the samples, like I couldn't just see in the pattern, like which samples am I actually using. So like I had to remember like, oh yeah, note C5, that's like the pad sound. And it's like, this is horrible. Like, so
But you
I'm,
still that's not a thing in this tracker?
no,
Is
in
there
this tracker, it's like, so for that reason, like, so I wanted to have like the sequencer and the instrument merged. So kind of like the Electron way where like the sequencer and the sound generation is very tightly coupled. And that way, like I can just read in the pattern, like, do I have a sampler here? So for example, like here, I literally just see the name of the sample, like
Oh,
that I'm
right.
programming on that step.
Do you call up an instrument type or is it just samples?
So, so the instrument type, it's fixed. So you allocate your track and like to a certain type, and then
Okay.
that is fixed. So like when you decide like one track is like a MIDI track, then
And it
like
does MIDI exclusively.
yeah, and you can change it, of course, but then you will just lose what was on the track.
Okay.
And
Cool.
so it's kind of like NerdSeek in that
Yeah,
regard,
the
where it's
Nerdseek,
just like you
choose
select
the
like
tracks.
yeah, so like which expander or whatever lands on which track. And so part of the reason is so like even though a lot of stuff is built into this tracker, like I still see it as a centerpiece of like a hardware focused setup. So for example, like at my place at home, like I have a few polysynths like in hardware, and so I want to be able to control them, and like
Right. That's what you built this for.
that's what I built this for, like literally for sequencing polysynths. And so I ran into this limitation of NerdSeek that it's just like you don't have very many tracks and you don't get to program many notes on it either. And it was just not really what I wanted, but it kind of like it was very close to what I thought was a perfect setup.
Yeah, the limitation on tracks is always
Yeah,
the
like,
hardest part about most pieces of hardware,
right.
right? And so this is cool that you've expanded it. In fact, you could probably go beyond 16, right? You could have this have way more tracks.
Yeah, it's like more limitation of screen space, I think.
Right, yeah.
Where it's like, so I'm deliberately limiting some of the things just to make it like manageable. So I don't think you would actually need more than 16 tracks here, like famous last words. But
Right.
so it's like, I will show off some things like that maybe convince you as well. So for example, like for the MIDI tracks, like, so you're not decided like which channel it plays on. So like each pattern can like even like inside of one pattern you can send on different MIDI channels, and
Oh, cool.
so you can go very crazy. So like you can like with the conditional decide like on a step like which instrument you want to play the note with and things like that. So it's so it should be enough for a lot
To
of
make
cases.
some powerful, yeah,
Yeah.
it's powerful enough to make some cool music.
Right. And
Is it like in an alpha state, a beta state? Like, what would you call this?
oh, it's like still, I would call it very alpha. Like things are changing still very fast, and like there's still lots of breaking changes, and I don't know if it will ever maybe even leave that alpha stage, because it's so I see that as like it's
Because you
I
want
mean,
to keep changing. You want to keep
yeah.
building it.
It's like for me, like one of the reasons like why I even started working on this was that I wanted to give myself the freedom to change things. Like if I realize like a sequencer lacks a feature, or like I don't like the workflow, I want to be able to change it. And like whenever I feel like something is maybe suboptimal, like I'll just change it. And like on the way sometimes break things. Like I try to minimize it, but yeah, things break.
Right.
And
right. I mean, it's crazy that you built this Like you built this very quickly.
Yeah, so I started. Oh, sorry, that's the
There's a
screensaver.
screensaver. That's cool.
Yeah, it's like because it's an OLED screen, like you don't want to burn in all of these tracker lines.
Right. Oh yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so I started working on it like in December,
Yeah. What? That's crazy.
and
Not even a year.
yeah, it's like a little bit more than half a year now
Yeah.
at this point, and yeah, just started from scratch basically, and
Well, let's get back to telling me what's going on the screen.
right.
So we know we
Okay,
have
so
16
we have
tracks.
16 tracks.
We have notes, and you can change the tracks to be certain kinds of instrument tracks.
Exactly. So like let's say for example like I'll just stop everything. So like let's say I want to have a track that I can play a sample on.
Okay.
So I would first go to the track settings, select like what kind of instrument I want to put there.
Okay. There's a chiptune instrument.
Okay, let's take the chiptune then.
Okay.
So now we have a chiptune track. And so what we see in this screen here is an overview over the patterns.
Okay.
So it's like just on NerdSeek, like you just have like all of these different numbers that you see here, or yeah, let's call it numbers. So they are like, they refer to a pattern. And so if you want to make a sound, like you have to first create a pattern. So I can just create one. So it's called 0D. Now I can go inside into this pattern.
Okay.
And like I can place a note. I'll also briefly make this pattern only 16 steps long.
Oh, cool.
And now we can fire it off. And now we have a blip.
Nice.
And so what I love about this kind of setup is like, so in each track you can now individually fire off these patterns. So I can start like, so now I have this blip, and like this one here is, for example, like a breakbeat player. So I queued up this pattern, and at the bottom you can see this global transport. And like once it reaches the sync point, like it will launch the pattern. And so now we can see, so this is, for example, the breakbeat track type.
I love, well, for one, okay, I gotta say, what's really cool is that you have instruments that are called the type of sound you intend to make.
Yeah.
Like you have a breakbeat instrument, a chiptune instrument. Like a chiptune instrument could be, disguised as any sort of synthesizer. But
Right.
a breakbeat instrument, it's pretty specific.
Yeah. But like you can also load other samples in there, and it's like very fun what happens.
Yeah. Does it have time stretch?
It repitches automatically.
It repitches it. Oh.
Yeah, so like there's no time stretching, but
That's how you got around the breakbeat problem.
exactly.
Okay.
And yeah, again, like so I wanted to know like, so like what, like I don't want to have a magic number for like what break I'm using. Like I just want to see the name of it. And so I just have like this list of breakbeats, like the ones that you see here, like they are just automatically built into the tracker. And yeah, we can just select whatever we want, like aim and break. It's like a little bit slow, so we can go.
Oh, cool.
And so now on the left, yeah, so now we can also see the visualization of like what part of the break we are playing. I'll just briefly make this pattern a little bit shorter again. And the next thing is, so like it also has like slicing built in for the breakbeats. So it just like it automatically gives you like 16 equal slices, which works for pretty much all of the breakbeats very well.
Yeah.
And so I can just, so I have this column here. So this one allows me to trigger like different slices. I don't know, I'll just make something up.
And it comes stock with breakbeats when you download
Yeah.
it?
It's like, I hope I'll not go to prison for that, but
You're going to prison for sure.
yeah, so like, so I just added like this slice here, and I thought, well, it sounded good without it, but also with it. But it's like just a subtle change. So now I can just create like a conditional here. And so it's basically the same way as it works on Electron. So now I have like, now I have like a trigger condition here. And so
Yeah, I heard it. Cool. Wait, can you go back to the conditional triggers?
Sure.
Really quick.
Oh, wrong button. Sorry. Here.
So you literally have almost all the same ones as Electron.
Yeah.
Oh, you have like 10%, 20%, 30%. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so these are like the random ones.
Cool.
And yeah, some other ones like, yeah, I think they all exist on Electron as well.
Yeah, awesome. I totally vibe with that.
Yeah, and what else can we do? So like, let's add some glitch.
Glitch.
So,
So like a retrig?
yeah, so NerdSeek also has tables built in.
Okay.
Which is like, it's like a sequencer inside of the sequencer.
Mhm.
And so I kept using it more and more in my live performances, where I figured out like it's really awesome when you trigger a kick drum and you put an arpeggio on like the trailing out part of the kick drum, or like you have a sustained kick drum and like you just suddenly treat it as a bass line. And so I was like, yes, I need to have tables. Like,
Of course.
they are the best thing ever. And then I added them, and it was like I realized more and more like these are just like, these are going to be like the defining feature of the tracker.
Okay.
Where it's like, so each pattern always has 8 tables, or like
Each pattern has 8 tables.
yeah, so it's
Okay.
like, so on each track basically you have like 8 more sequencers that are running at the same time.
Okay.
And so you can see like the table is like kind of like a full pattern at this point.
It's
And
a sequencer within a step on your sequencer.
right,
So-
but like, so it can, like, it just runs with its own clock, so you can have it run at like different speed, for example.
Is the default clock for it 1 tick? Are
Uh,
you using tick rate?
Yeah, I also use ticks, so like, so one step is 6 ticks,
Okay.
just to make it map well to MIDI.
Right.
And so by default, the table just runs at 6.
Oh, by default, the tables run at 6.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So they all run at 16th notes by default.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
That's different. Because most other tables I've come across on other trackers, default tick is 1.
oh, okay.
Because the table usually runs through the entire table in a single 16th note when it's set to 1.
I see. Well, it's like here it's 64 steps, so it would take a bit.
That's right. Yeah, it's a different table. Yeah, these tables are bigger than the tables I'm used
Right.
to seeing.
So the last column here, so this one is like a jump.
Okay.
So this is how you define the length of the table.
Okay.
So it's currently like 1 step.
Okay. So at
And
0, 0, it'll just reset to the beginning of the table.
exactly. And then but here, like, the first column is like it's called the transpose column. And so if you were like playing like musical notes, it would change it would arpeggiate in terms of semitones. But on breakbeats, it actually does slices instead.
Oh,
And so you can program like slice patterns with these tables.
let's see it.
And so I can just use it, for example, for like these retrigger glitches. So I made it a little bit faster. And so the table is triggered here. And I'll maybe just turn it off here again.
Nice.
And of course, we could do like the same thing with conditionals again, where like the table only, yeah, why not? Like, let's try to build that. So we have also command if. Let's do like 1 out of 2. And so if you do this command if, it means that the next command, like the next column,
Okay.
will
yeah.
only be executed when the trigger condition is true. And then we should be able to send table index at column. So we want to have table column 0, and we want to play table 7. I'll delete this, and hopefully...
Okay, cool. So we basically put a conditional trig on whether the table performs its function.
Right, so basically what we did here with like this command on the right, so this one overrides what is in this column of your pattern at this point.
Okay.
And so you can also do that to overwrite the note, for example. So you could program like your melody and then just with these conditionals emit notes that override what is in the pattern.
Oh, cool.
And so then like you could do something like only when the trigger condition is true do you alternate your melody.
Sick. That's definitely unique. I don't know if anybody people don't maybe know that are just jumping in here, but he is doing this on a Steam. He's programming this with the controllers on a Steam Deck right now. Like this is not happening on a computer. Well, it is a computer, but like
yeah, like
he's doing this on a handheld. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, let's. So I said, you can also do like these slice patterns with it. So let's just try that as well. I'll just use the trusty aim and break again. I made it 16 steps. Oh, sorry, wrong pattern. So we can do things like, so now it should just run through the breakbeat. And so now I can, actually, I'll make it longer now. And,
Cool.
And so it's like, so you can see like it was very easy to make these patterns that change, and you can just like overlay yet another table here. Whoop. Okay, that's
cool. So you made the table go at half speed? Or half the speed it was going at?
Say this again?
You made the table go at half the speed it was going at.
Yeah,
before.
exactly.
The second table.
Yeah, because it sounded a bit weird. Yeah, we can maybe try to make it a bit more obvious. Okay, so now it's like going out of the break, but
can we talk about this waveform that's going down?
Sure.
That's different. I've never seen anything like that in a tracker where the waveform is it also displayed vertically.
Yeah,
which
it's
is like a whole new thing for me to think about.
Right. So I just like, it's one of these things like it just accidentally happened, almost, where it's like so I wanted to be able to see like just the playback position in the samples in general, just so that you understand what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just ran out of screen space basically, and so at some point I was like, well, there's these huge columns of like where you just have the name of the breakbeat, and so like I'll just fit it in there, it's fine. And like
totally works.
Actually, it turns out to be super convenient because you can like from the indices also kind of guess what the what like the slice corresponds to, since the pattern is 64 steps and you have 16 slices.
You can
so
see
like
64 steps, and if you slice it 64 steps, you can potentially see the waveform
right
based on with the sequencer and the waveform view at the same time being the same data.
right.
Okay. That is unique. That is cool.
All right, so let's add yet another table.
Okay.
So we can also emit, where is it? Emit breakbeat index. So first breakbeat column, and so now we can play different breakbeats here. Let's maybe go for this one, and I don't know what breakbeat 3 is. So here at this point we cannot see anymore the name of it, but so now we're automatically going through the breakbeats.
That sounds crazy. It looks like the Matrix.
So it's like I actually tried to build like a okay, like
were you inspired by that?
So with these programs, you can also write into the patterns, and I actually tried to program like a Matrix style screensaver in the tracker. Like it didn't look very good, but like if you were a bit more skilled than me, you could write like some nice screensavers in the pattern.
More skilled than you? Dude, you made this thing in like a couple of months. How does somebody get more skilled than that?
Like I think there are plenty of people that are more talented with many aspects of what is in this tracker.
It's all over my head, that's for sure.
Since we talked about graphic stuff, so another fun thing is, so this is, so this Steam Deck, it's like a gaming console, so it has like a pretty powerful GPU.
Yeah.
And I do like GPUs, and
say.
so the idea here is, so ideally, like when I perform live, I want people to understand what I'm doing, and like when I'm just standing on the stage with the Steam Deck, like nobody can see what is going on, and like So my goal is to bring maybe a second screen with me that I can show to the
People what's
audience,
going
where
on,
the
yeah.
audience can see what is going on. And to make it a bit more interesting, I built in some visuals in the background that are also programmable to some extent.
Oh, you can sequence the visuals?
Yeah, you can sequence the visuals.
Holy
so
shit.
there's like, so the way I intend this to work is, so the backgrounds are programmed as shaders. And
Okay.
yeah, it's like, I think only graphics programmers know about it, but so basically the part of the code that is like the generating these visuals, like this one is like bundled separately in the tracker. So like
Okay.
if you wanted to, you could just edit the code and make it look different, or like add, like program your own visuals, take in different shaders and make some stuff with it.
So because you work in shaders and stuff like outside of this.
Right. Like
So you
I'm a graphics
incorporated-
person.
Yeah, you design graphic stuff. And so you incorporated that into your
Right.
tracker.
So you have like different visuals here. Oh yeah.
Oh,
it's like,
nice. Oh, classic.
yet another copyright strike probably, but
No, I think we're good with that.
so yeah, it's like basically I just added like a couple placeholder images as well. So like somebody that uses the tracker, like they can just override the images and then have like, I don't know, their artist logo in the background if they want to.
I like that. That's really cool.
Like just some AI. Yeah, and this one is really weird. So it's a shader that uses the screen output as part of the visuals. So it's like a bit recursive. And so this one actually has parameters that you can sequence. Let's see.
It's very confusing to look at this one.
I actually don't remember how these parameters work. But like basically you can make up patterns here.
What the hell?
And it's like, yeah, it's
You're breaking my brain. I should have assumed this is what you would do today, though.
so yeah, so we can do, and like, as you can see, of course, we have tables, right? So you can, like, instead of just...
So those values are changing the screen.
Exactly. So these values are sent to the graphics shader. And
No, so it's not like MIDI. It's like straight to the shaders?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so you can just use them in the shader, like when you're programming it. And
Could I... Oh, I guess that's... I was going to say, could I connect a MIDI controller
yes.
and adjust this manually during a performance?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is where like this built-in programming language comes into play. So like it's kind of my hot glue for everything. I'll show an example later where so I do have a MIDI controller here and where I can just dial in like notes in the pattern with sliders. And so it's done by running a program in the background that will just overwrite your pattern with whatever came from the MIDI controller.
Oh, wow.
And you could do the same thing with the shaders and like just instead of programming this value here, like you could just send something there.
Crazy. Cool.
What
Really
else is
cool.
there?
I look forward to like, what, 6 months from now, this is going to be complete. Whoa.
So this one is like, I'm sorry, it looks really ugly, but...
Is there one where it, well, there's also, there's my color settings, but is there one that displays the volume meters? Because that would be really cool. I mean, just an idea. I guess you already have that.
The volume meters are here, so like they are not exposed for the shaders yet, but I could do that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Or like maybe just expose it to the programming language at least, and then you'll plumb whatever you want.
So since you're going so far into these kind of settings, have you thought about adding things like more like, I know you're a modular user, right? And that's how we know each other.
Right.
Was from me working at the modular shop, Chris coming in, buying lots of modules. Since you're such a modular user and you have modular brain, what about things like envelope followers or shift registers? And are those ideas that you're kicking around to like have included in here?
So partially, I would argue it's already there. So for example, so like, so my excuse is always like, functionality is missing. It's like, okay, use a table. If the table doesn't solve the problem, it's like, okay, use this programming language.
Then start building.
And,
then use the language, right?
And then if you can't solve it, like, then we should think about like what feature to add to enable it. But like, so so my idea is like, I don't want to have like tons of separate like specific features, but more have like decently simple building blocks that all interact well with each other.
So you can
it's-
just build whatever you need.
Exactly.
Okay.
And like usually you'll screw it up when doing it, and something much better comes out than what you intended to.
That's like modular.
Exactly. And
Okay.
it's like, so it's still like this surprise of what you're doing. Yeah, like getting unexpected results, but like still also precise enough that you can do things properly.
Sick.
It's like, since we're breaking people's brains, like this one is a favorite of mine. So it's like if you look at this on like a large screen, it really kills you. Like it's very dizzying. Because like one of these things moves smoothly, and one is actually like using the step right from the sequencer, so I can make it slower or faster.
Whoa. Really cool, the idea of having a visualizer, like visual effects, so to speak, built into the music device. I mean, there's some stuff that like Ableton has a bit of that with Max for Live. No other DAW that I'm aware of has incorporated it as well as Max for Live has, except for Shield Tracker now has that.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty cool, like when you're like, I don't know, laying down in the evening and like just chilling with it on the sofa and
Getting
like programming
super
something.
dizzy
It's
and
like let's
spinning
add
out.
some let's add some terrible visuals to it. And like so this is where I hope like so I'm skilled as a graphics programmer, but I'm very unskilled as an like graphics artist. So like I mean you can see all of my design, like everything will look kind of like this.
But you also have a like a nostalgia for the 80s graphics, and
Right.
you
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You know, that's
But,
not
like, it
necessarily.
might not be everybody's taste, but
But it's your tracker. That
exactly.
seems fair.
And so like people that want to change the appearance, like you can get pretty far by changing these shaders.
Cool.
And like that's like by design that I want people to just change stuff.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get to see some people making. So can I change like the UI? Can I change it from green to blue or red? Or...
Yeah, so it's for the colors, for example, there's like just a color map that comes as an image with it. And so you could just open that with Photoshop or whatever and just change the colors to whatever you want.
Oh, whoa. Cool.
And it's like, it's not very many colors. I think I use 5 colors in total or even less.
Switching to Live 12 from. Hang on. Oh, it's Doug. What's up, Doug? No, I don't recommend that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a Bitwig user for sure. Let's I want to hear some more sounds.
Okay.
I want to hear some more sounds from this. Do you have? Can we make like, or was there any other instruments that we haven't gotten to look at? So we've seen breakbeat, we've seen chiptune. There was a list
So we also saw the polyphonic sampler.
right when we started it up.
But like, why don't I just try to load another project? And I really hope that things don't crash because I had some issues this morning.
Yeah, or like, remember, this is an alpha build
It worked. Nice.
that anyone can pick up.
So maybe something like if we have like more nerdy people on the stream, like something that I also want to show.
Probably that's why we have everybody on the stream.
So I've just created like a pattern with a few nodes, and if I save this project, you will see like this command line output that looks familiar to nerds. And so like your project files are actually tracked with Git in the background. So like you have like a full version history of like whenever you save, like it just saves a snapshot automatically for you.
Okay.
So it means like if you figure out like, oh, I messed something up in my live performance and you want to go back to what you had a month ago, it's like you cannot do it through Shield Tracker, but so like all of the data is still there, and like
Oh, whoa.
so you can just grab it.
So potentially you can't screw anything up.
Yeah, it's like that's what I'm trying to, and for me it's also just a debugging tool because I can go through the differences and just see like did it screw up something when saving, or like when I change stuff I can just
Cool.
figure out what did I do wrong, what do I need
You're
to
really
fix.
taking advantage of the power
Right,
that a Steam Deck provides,
right.
which is what you should do. If you're gonna put a music device on a Steam Deck, why not take advantage of it? You're the right person for the job. Yeah, let's hear this.
Yeah, what else do we have? So here, this one is just a MIDI pattern, and I'll just very briefly show you. So in the background, I have also a soft synth running on the Steam Deck. So this one is a synth that I can control with MIDI.
Okay.
And
Oh, wow. Okay.
and
And
so
this is all Linux-based
exactly.
stuff that you're downloading.
And so this is so like it requires a little bit of fiddling, but basically you can install it through the system that is on the Steam Deck.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, when you get the Steam Deck, like it's in read-only file system mode, which means you cannot make changes to the system, but you can change it and like unlock it, and then you can make changes and install software through the package manager, just like you would do on like a proper Linux system. Okay. So that's how I just installed the synth, and it's also very like in some sense 80s and old and weird, but like the UI is terribly ugly, but in a very charming way. And
Yeah,
like,
no,
I just love
that's
it.
what I think. I find it intriguing. I find it attractive. Like what makes me I want to see the data turn into this like Excel sheet, which is what's so cool about trackers.
Right.
This Excel sheet turn into music, and I love that juxtaposition that happens between those two. It's a beautiful thing. So like installing this, is it as simple as downloading it, running a exe type situation?
Exactly, yeah. So you would visit the website, then download tar.gz, which is like just an archive, like a zip file.
Okay.
And you just
it just runs.
And you can just
you
unpack it
unzip
with the built-in UI, and
you're off.
And then you can. So there's two scripts in it, and so you should run first. Like there's a script that is called create desktop shortcuts. So you press this one once or twice, or like whatever, just so that it runs. Then it creates desktop shortcuts for you, and you want these because it creates also a script that allows you to update the tracker. So like you have like one key, shortcut on the desktop where you can just click it. It will automatically download and unpack it.
Every time you run a new update, it will retrieve that.
Yeah, so like I mean, you manually have to trigger updating it, but
just by clicking the shortcut,
like clicking it. So it's like it takes like 2 seconds.
Okay, cool.
Like,
cool. No, that's easy. I mean, that's most of the time to update a hardware music device is downloading a thing and downloading a tool that even communicates with the device and then uploading it or taking an SD card out. This seems pretty simple.
Yeah, and it's like so it was also like partially like my worldview clashed with like more of musicians that are maybe not as deeply nerdy, and so I had them like when this was like a closed beta test, so you had to manually download it, and like I gave the instructions like, yeah, go to the terminal, type like this command, it will download it, unpack it, and it was like
it was overwhelming,
and it was very hard for people, and like I didn't even realize it. So like basically so like you don't have a keyboard here, right?
Yeah,
but
so, even when you pull the keyboard up, it's not a thing.
Yeah, like the touch keyboard is terrible.
Yeah.
But like the way I work with it is you can also enable SSH, which is like a remote shell. So from my desktop computer, I can just connect into this, and like that's how I always did this stuff. So I didn't realize that there might be some pain points there.
And... Oh yeah, I'm sure. Like as you get more users, like you're gonna run into a lot of people that are just gamers that want to play with music. And they're going to be like, "What is this?" Speaking of that, have you started any documentation or?
No. So I think this is like the biggest problem with this project, that like it's like entirely undocumented.
Right, but it will be. I mean, you're in alpha state.
Right.
Like, you'll. I mean, if you want to.
So like my hope is partially that like that there will at some point exist some tribal knowledge of like how to use this.
I like that.
And like just have other people like maybe create videos for it and like demonstrate like certain techniques or like how to use it. So I'm trying to keep the UI decently simple, but like you have to learn a lot of shortcuts and combos in the beginning. So I can like on the Steam Deck there's like this 3-dot button. If I press that, I'm getting into the help screen.
Oh, he's we have a comment here. X101 says, can you ask him, can he change the screen scale so you can add it as a non-Steam game and run it in game mode?
I don't think that works. I haven't tried it yet. But so it runs in the desktop mode. And actually the first thing that the tracker does when it starts is like turn off Steam. So like it kills Steam from running because like Steam takes control over the joysticks and everything, and I want to have that control, and so I just kill Steam, and just to make sure that it also doesn't start like updating things in the background while you're performing somewhere.
Oh yeah, that would be tough.
So for that reason, like I'm just using the desktop mode. And
Okay. There's an answer to your question there. Cool. So let's talk about the functions a bit. Is there any functions, or you haven't even shown, like, let's hear this project. I want to hear this project.
All right. So
and
here,
then let's talk about the functions.
So this is like the MIDI pattern triggering the synth that I just showed. It seems like it's a bit loud. So I can turn down the MIDI velocity with the volume. So we'll just scale all of the MIDI notes for you.
That's rad.
Then let's maybe find some breakbeat to play over this.
So you're triggering islands, essentially.
Yeah.
Let's go. Also, if you want to see Shield play, he's playing Modbang this month.
Correct.
Live. And you're going to play on the Steam Deck. I take it. And you're going to play with this.
Yes, correct. I'll bring a modular case and the Steam Deck. Yeah, another fun thing. Let's hope it sounds fine. So it's like one of these things where you can get very experimental very quickly. And so like to explain what is going on. So like you can see this table here. It changes your BPM in percentage. And so this is how you can create groove in Shield Tracker. I'll have it on. So yeah, it literally just changes your playback speed.
Yeah, it's repitching, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so you can see that on the top right, like where the BPM says like this multiplier and the brackets. So this is what the table is creating. Whoop. Wow. And like again, I can just change the speed like on top of that.
Wow.
It's like maybe a bit too wild. But
that was pretty wild for sure, but also a great demonstration of the capabilities
right.
of what this can do, because you were making those actions happen very quickly.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And so like again, like if you look at, for example, this pattern here, so this is the pattern that played the polysynth for you. And so like you can see the lazy man's
lazy man's. I gotta say, referring to anything that you've done here as the lazy man, anything, it just seems not right.
No, it's like a lot of preparation to be able to be lazy later.
Okay,
you know, like when it matters.
I appreciate that. Streamlined.
So, exactly. Fine.
Okay.
So for example, like here you can just see. So this is I demonstrated that a little bit before. So it has this chord memory built in.
Okay.
And so you can just create like these chord tables, and then it uses this as a base note, and then in the chord that you programmed, like it will just offset from this base note and play all of the notes.
Okay.
And
so are the chords a set of intervals that are just like 3 semitones, 7 semitones, 5 semitones, or is it C major 7? Is it major 7 shapes, or is it like I'm gonna adhere to the major 7 that it should be from a C major 7?
so it's like not in scale, so it just does the offset in semitones.
Okay.
So I'm a kid of the 90s, and like I like the chord memory kind of sound. But there is also quantization built in.
Oh, there is. Okay, I guess that's really what I was getting at.
So if you look at this menu here, there's just like quantization, and you can create I don't know how many quantization, apparently 8 quantization tables. Here you can specify like what your base note is, and then you can remap the notes. So like it can also span like different octaves. So you could say like each of your base note always going to play like 2 octaves higher.
Wow.
And,
okay.
And
so you can make inversions, essentially.
Right.
With that.
But it's like, I mean, it's a very weird concept in general, because like, yeah, you just remap notes. So it's kind of inspired from I think it's called scale instrument in Live, where you have like this matrix. Yeah.
Okay.
Where you have like this matrix of like what note maps to what. And so this is kind of what I re-implemented here, but like allowing you to go beyond like just one octave.
Cool. Man,
And so that way, like you could restrict the chord into the scale that you want. With some asterisks, so like quantization is not as easy as I thought it is, like when I implemented it, because it there's actually lots of issues, like if you are like so it depends, like if you're going up or down in the scale, whether you should be rounding up or down to the next note. And so that is something that is not correctly handled. So it will sound a bit weird, I think.
okay.
Yeah. But like as usual, my answer would be just implement it yourself in the programs, right? So you could do
That
whatever you want
sounds.
there.
We gotta get over that part soon here, because I'm still not understanding what you mean when you say that, because you're saying you can code, like this has its own coding language,
Right.
like it's like, what is the initial code that you use? Is it like C, C++, C++?
Oh, so it's like an assembly inspired language.
Assembly inspired,
Yeah, so it's like inspired from like the
like
C64
low level
instruction.
stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty low level. So maybe to give like a little bit of history there.
Please do.
So I did try like, or have like a very short go at writing a tracker before, which was like just 1 year before I started this one. And so it was always my goal to have like a programming language in the tracker, just so that you could extend the functionality. So for example, like think of the Metropolis sequencer. So it has like these accumulators. So like whenever a step plays, like it will go up an octave or something like that. And I thought, well, that's very cool, but I don't want to add this feature. Like I want to be able to build this feature just with the means that I have in the tracker.
Now, when you say like, okay, that you're able to add and build features within the tracker, are we referring to like you need to plug in your keyboard and mouse and you start typing, or is there modules?
No, you do that with the just with the gamepad.
Okay.
And yeah, so I came up with this like nice programming language that was actually pretty fun.
Okay.
Had implemented that, but then I realized like, yeah, it's way too complicated. Like I don't want to write this like high level complicated code when I'm making music. Like when I'm writing music, it's more like a calculator, you know, where it's like I will take the note, I want to add like 12 semitones to it or something like that. And if you're programming on that level, then assembly is actually a much better fit to it, where you're literally just writing like for the calculator, like take this value, add 5, do this, do that.
Right.
And so this is what I ended up implementing. And because it's assembly, like I was also able to make it sufficiently fun that you can do it on the gamepad as well, because like you cannot type characters here, and like I don't want to make you like do the like TV remote style coding. Like that would be absolutely horrible.
This was written in assembly, someone says?
No, so the tracker itself was written in C++. So it's like, yeah, from... Like,
Okay, that's what I was kind of curious about.
Okay, yeah, it's like actually very modern C++, so like C++ 20, and like even the code itself for the tracker is generative.
Okay, it's generative. Okay.
So again, like the problem of the lazy man, you know, like I don't want to like... I have these different track types, and like I don't want to redo anything for these individual track types. Like I just want to implement like once how you edit everything and like how it plays it back and reuse that. Right. And so most of the code, like it just automatically generates the code just from a description of like which columns do I have in the pattern, and it just creates the code for you. And so this
is that like some sort of AI thing?
No, it's like just lots of painful template programming in C++.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah.
DC Merrick is asking, Doug's asking a good question. He says, where is the effects column for each note? That's because he was looking at the other screen, which was displaying patterns.
So these effect columns, like they are not per node. So like basically there's like a pretty specific execution order, like when the pattern plays back. And so like all of these commands can basically affect all of the columns.
Okay. So you have 16 tracks, and each track has 4 columns, but all of the track columns are able to communicate with all of the tracks.
If you want to, yes. So
Okay.
there's like
There's no rails or boundaries around that.
not really. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you can get really weird.
Yes, you definitely can. And like yeah, things are gonna get weird and unexpected, like of course just of how things are executed in the background, but
I could
yeah.
see some like I could see quite a few artists getting their hands on something like this and making some tunes that they never thought were even a possibility to make without using a giant modular system.
Right.
Because you can do it here.
Yeah,
I mean,
actually that's also big part of the motivation for writing this. Where like so I really enjoyed like sequencing in the modular where like you just take an LFO through a quantizer and like it automatically generates a
yeah, just
melody
get
for
some
you.
notes and throw some trigs behind it.
Right. But the problem is like it's just very expensive, and like so now I
Yeah.
want to add like 2 signals, and I have to use like $100 worth of
Or
a module
more.
to do like one sum, and like my computer can do probably billions of these in a
The
second.
price of a quantizer, an LFO module, something that triggers just those, and you need those 3 at least, and an envelope generator or something.
Right. And
You
like
need
a
at
case.
least, and then a case, and then all of course these sound modules. I mean, that's like 3 or 4 Steam Decks.
Right. And so yeah, so at some point I was just frustrated with how things work in the modular, and then you cannot recall things and all of that.
Let's make some more music sound. Like I want to hear some more sounds from it. I know we're talking some pretty high level stuff, and I imagine that there's definitely people that are following along, but there's probably some people who just really want to hear this
Right.
jam, and that's what I want to hear too.
So I thought we should maybe also just take a look at another generative way, just like very basic, simple stuff. So going back to the tables. So I created a chiptune track. We can edit the sound here, and well, it's like, for example, you can see which oscillators are implemented. So there's also super saw.
Oh, cool.
But like, let's keep it simple for now. And yeah, I'll just let it play for a second. So that's just like your crappy, like, but it's not really a sign. Like it's, like it.
I can hear like a little bit of like aliasing
Yeah, exactly.
type stuff going on.
So like that's on purpose, like just to make it a bit more
Found
interesting.
more chiptune.
And so now we can create like a table here, for example, that, so this one would do like an octave arpeggio.
It'll do an arpeggio? Oh, okay.
And so now I can create another table. And so I can also program note off in the table. So I can like overlay these two.
Cool.
And so I could do like an actual chord on top of it. Minor chord.
Oh, now we're talking. That's my jam right there.
Yeah, and then we can like make it.
Oh, cool.
So now, like, because the speed is not the same anymore for all the tables, like now it just starts shifting in time, and like you get pretty weird generative patterns that are still,
Yeah.
like, somewhat expected, but so like I wouldn't be able to tell you beforehand what it will sound like.
Oh, yeah. That's always a fun part of devices or concepts like this.
Right.
You get to experiment, just see how it sounds.
And so like now it's like very. And so it also has a reverb built in.
Nice. Did you make the reverb?
No, it's called Freeverb.
Oh, it's Freeverb. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Freeverb. Sounds good.
It's not the best reverb, but it's like
Hey, Reverb's a good sounding reverb. I mean, nothing wrong with reverb.
yeah.
You hear it all over the place. It's like
And
the
it's-
most used reverb.
And it's like I like the reverb also, like it just really fits, like it's like this weird mixture of like crappy 80s things and like
You can like
modern
almost
stuff.
hear the delay lines.
Right.
Right.
And it's like in particular on the breakbeats, I think it sounds just brilliant, like very metallic. Like we can maybe go for some jungle.
Take me to jungle.
Let's go for jungle speed. So now I've queued up this pattern here, which will play some.
Cool. Yeah. Dude, you are the master of like dissonance and somehow getting it to still sound musical. Like, this is just eerie. Like,
Yeah,
what was that? So cool.
it's like a vocal sound that I
Yeah.
queued up with tables.
Yeah.
And so yeah, maybe this could also be an interesting example for like the programming language. So this one is kind of like crappy time stretched.
This reminds me of Data Line. Do you know who Data Line is?
Yeah,
This reminds me of Data Line's tunes. I love Data Line. But I love your tunes too, so that makes sense.
yeah, it's like just very old school jungle, I guess. And,
Yeah. Well, also that's like the way you're doing the time stretch on the vocal. It's the LFO reset on a start point, right?
yeah. Well, it's like so yeah, that's why I wanted to show it
Okay.
because this is done actually with the programming language. And
Yeah, show me this programming language because
Alright.
my brain is
So-
cooked on this idea.
so each track, think of it like it has like a processor or something like that executes these programs.
Okay.
And so each track has its own memory as well, so
Okay.
where it can just store values. And then there's also a global memory where all of these processors can write into and read from. So this is how the tracks can communicate with each other.
Okay.
Um,
I'm following.
so I'm using this command here. So this means like write into local memory. Also, if you look at the bottom left of the screen, you can see like some description of the command.
Okay.
Or you
Good.
can
That's
press
good that you
like
did
enter
that.
on it and like you see the list of commands.
Okay. That's not even that many commands.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to keep it. You know, like the problem is when you have too many commands, you need to scroll and like
You don't want to scroll.
I don't. Yeah, I'd like to keep it to like one screen worth of commands if
That's
I can.
smart. Yeah. I guess you could do
Yeah,
cut the screen in half. Wouldn't
but
be
then I
bad
would
if
have
you
to
could.
cut the description a bit. But
That's true.
yeah. Anyways, there would be solutions for that for sure. Yeah. So like this pattern basically starts by initializing this memory location. Just like so, this will be the counter where the sample is currently playing. So like think of it like this is like your playback position.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you're
yeah.
just storing in this memory and you just initialize it. And then I have this table here. It only has one step and it runs at the speed of the sequencer.
Mm-hmm.
And all it does is call this program. So program 04.
Okay. And program
And-
04 is what you used your little languaging program right there that had the L memory. Or
Exactly.
whatever.
So this is now program 04. So this is this assembly language.
Okay.
And so it starts like it. So you have different instructions here. This is like the instruction set or this like imaginary CPU.
Okay.
And so these are what you use to program it. So you can like load a value from the memory into your CPU, or you can write into the memory. And an important one is then that you can also execute the command like from like the built-in command the tracker has. So like just
Cool.
these default commands that you have in these pattern effect columns. And so this is what I'm using here. So it
To make the time stretch.
exactly. So it loads the value that is in the memory in this accumulation register and also in this index register. Like I don't want to get into too much details, but basically, so then it executes this command here, this playback position. So this is the like telling the sampler like move your playback cursor to this position.
It's not many commands that you're using.
No, it's
for it
like
to
pretty
do that.
short. Yeah, it's like so that's why I'm thinking like the assembly language is perfectly fine because like it actually like you're not writing like a complicated program in there.
Right. It's a
Ma-
very short program.
You could, but
You could.
it's like not the expectation. And yeah, so it just loads like the current position of the sample from the memory. sets the sample position to that position, and then it adds 4 to the playback position and stores it back into the memory. So if we actually, all right, let's only play this pattern.
Somebody asked earlier, and it just popped in my head when I heard the lovely pad sound. Somebody was like, "Can I have this play VSTs that are hosted in Linux on the tracker on?" Like, because you were having it play a VST in the background.
So it's not a VST, so it's like a standalone application. So on Linux, there's so it's called Jack Audio Connection Kit. So it's kind of like virtual cabling between applications.
Okay.
And so this is what
if it's something that has its own host.
Exactly. So if you have like a plug-in host that can speak Jack and Jack MIDI, then you could control it with it.
Okay, cool. No, I think that answers the question. I think that will get people really far because there's lots of VSTs that are also hosts.
I think you could also probably run like some of these audio scripting languages like Super Collider or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Go
Great
even
idea.
more crazy, right?
Yeah.
And like
that's a really cool idea. Or it could. I wonder if it could communicate with like Pure Data or something.
yeah, like I'm pretty sure you could do that.
Okay. Cool.
All right, so let's play this. So we can see like this jittery playback here, right? So also if I change the pitch, like it's like yeah, it's like and if we go into this program now, you can also see like this counter like next to
moving
the
through
like
the start position.
yeah, exactly. And so we could change this here, so now it's only adding 1, and so now it goes slower through the sample. And so the fun bit is now there's also like sorry, here this command load whatever like into a register, and then there's like this special column here, and this allows you to read, for example, MIDI CC values. So like the tracker, it will just, when you send it MIDI CC values, it will just store the last value that it has received. And so you can retrieve it that way in your program. And so instead of me manually like using the cursor here to change this value, I could just load instead like the MIDI CC value and apply that.
Or have a controller.
Right, exactly.
Do that.
And so
you
that
could
way,
in real time
so
twist
you
the
could
knob and control the time stretch.
Exactly. But like since this programming language can basically control everything, you can control everything with sliders in the tracker. So like so you could write like per pattern controller mappings basically.
Per pattern controller mappings.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
And so like even multiple ones, right? Because you can have multiple programs execute on one track.
Would you want to do that? Is that something you'd want to do, musically speaking?
Not sure.
Not sure. To be explored kind of situation?
Yeah, it's like one of these things, like I've not gotten to it yet, but so for example, like I would want to explore a little bit like in breakbeat patterns, for example, like so I'm getting more and more into like more like crazy like generative stuff as well.
Can you show me some crazy generative stuff?
Yeah, I'll try to load something. I hope I don't crash it.
I like that. Amen.
Yeah. So this one here. Yeah, so it's like oh, there's something that I haven't talked about yet at all.
Okay.
So it also has, so one of my favorite modules in the modular, so like it's like this bundle of 3. So the third one is Maestro, which is this like programmable LFO where you have like,
acid rain.
Yeah, so we have like these sequences of LFOs, and so I had my entire patches and everything controlled by it, and so I wanted to have something similar, and so I added what I call automators, and so if you look at this weird squiggly line on the right,
I see it.
So that's like
that's an LFO.
That's 8 LFOs.
Oh my god! I get it now.
No, it's 16 LFOs.
16 LFOs. I can see them moving up through their phase.
Right, and
I had no idea what was going on. It just looked like some stuff.
Like some nice pattern. And so you have these commands here that you can, like you can set the speed of it, the waveform, amplitude, like speed multiplier, reset the phase.
Nice.
And you can also drive tables through these automators. So whenever like your LFO finishes one cycle, it will go to the next step in your table. That way you can sequence the waveform, for example.
Could you set like a phase point that means reset? Like reset at phase 65%.
You currently can't, but like you could use a table and
You could use the table, okay.
or
you could write the
write the program and like because you have the command to reset the phase to 0. Where was I getting it? Oh yeah, right. So you have these modulators, and so I used this modulator. So this breakbeat here uses the modulator in this program here to control the slicing.
Let's hear it. You have two almonds going at the same time?
Exactly, yeah. So it's like, so I noticed like it's actually, it's like then you can go much more crazy on one of them because you still have like your base layer of almond and like makes it much easier to do something even more crazy. And like, when I love layering breakbeats in general, so now it's just...
That sounds cool. I mean, I've never thought of layering breakbeats myself, but it doesn't sound bad.
Yeah, it's like my favorite thing to do with breaks actually. So that's like why it has 2 columns.
That's
like,
cool.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the other screen really quick? Out of this one? No, with the break running.
Yeah. We can also...
Yeah, I wanted to see the LFOs.
Okay,
modulated.
the way we do that is we set this to a graphics track. We create a pattern, and I think it's patch 8, maybe. Let's figure it out. Yeah, so now we have the automators.
Those are the LFOs?
Yep. So apparently I'm doing something weird with some of them. Oh yeah, I think I set them to square, maybe. Yeah, this one is a square wave. We can set this to triangle.
This is crazy, man. It's like eye candy, too.
I mean, it looks pretty horrible, but it's like one of these things to be done. Yeah, so like last time on the stream, you also discussed something like pivot mixing.
Oh yeah, Toby was talking about pivot
so you can also do that in the breakbeats. So you can, because the tables can have a different speed multiplier, you can just trigger the breakbeats like at a different speed.
Have you done it? Do you already have that done?
Yeah, let me see it. It's like, where did I do that? I think maybe, I think it was in this ambient pattern, maybe.
Simdrome, we got some people in the chat asking you questions here. Simdrome says, does it sidechain, compress, resample, slice to MIDI?
No, none of these. So, like I want to add a sampler at some point. So like sample recorder, but it's like, I don't have like a consistent image in my head yet, like what it would look like. So basically I would want to rip off the octa track in the sense of that you have like recorders that you can like control from the patterns.
You should rip off the octatrack in the sense of recorders, but rip off the digitact in the sense of the threshold recording.
Right.
And the quantization, the simplified quantization.
And like, yeah.
That'd be really convenient for like getting started.
Yeah, what else was the question? So like slice to MIDI, I'm not fully sure if I know what they mean by that. So like sending out the slice to MIDI, or
like that MIDI can trigger slices?
No, it doesn't listen to MIDI at all, basically. You can enter notes via MIDI, but that's it.
So another suggestion.
But in a very, very limited manner as well.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, go ahead.
Just also to remind people, this is an alpha build.
Right.
So like the features to come is endless, I'm sure, as Shield continues to program it.
Yeah.
But he was asked, X101 was saying, it's actually a good idea. Like, what if you said, I don't want to have 8 tracks or 16 tracks. I want 8.
Yeah,
Then
it's-
you could have more real estate per track on the screen.
Yeah, it's like it's been. It's not the first time I hear the request that just the font is a little bit too small. So like two answers. Like first of all, you can just attach a bigger screen if you really want to,
Right.
which is like the cheap way out. The other is like, yeah, it would be nice, like, yeah, to make it a little bit bigger. Sorry, it's a screensaver. But like, I don't really have like a vision for it yet, like how it would behave. So like, a lot of how the UI behaves is designed in a way that you always see everything at once. It's like one thing that I really disliked on NerdSeek, for example, was that you had like, I think in some pattern types, like you had multiple pages and you had to scroll left and right and you couldn't see everything at once. And so I always wanted everything to be visible at the same time, or like as much visible as
One
possible.
suggestion I would maybe have that to rip off LSDJ and the M8 trackers workflow would be a map, a dungeon map, as someone called it, where because there's different screens you can go to, but it would be cool to see like how do I get to that? Maybe a visualization. I don't know.
So
I
it's,
really like that part about the M8 tracker.
So I think it's so the navigation concept is a little bit different because so you always like if you enter a different screen, like there's basically two ways. Either you press like the enter button on like let's say on a pattern index, then you enter the pattern. If you do it on a table index, you go into the table, and you always have a back button to go back. And the other is like there's always the secondary screen where you have like some settings that you go into with like pressing the right joystick.
I just want to pump up your
Volume.
You're quieter than I am. I'm a loud talker.
Yeah, I also see this other question here about it running in the terminal. And so initially I wanted it to do that, but the problem was like it's very hard to get the input handling done in the terminal. So basically you only would get events like when you when the key is pressed, but not when it's released. And yeah, for that reason, like I at some point gave up on it. And so then of course you would also give up like all of these breakbeat visualizations and things like that. So like
Which
at
we
this
don't wanna
point,
give
it's
that
like, yeah, at this point it's like outgrown the terminal a bit.
Okay. Cool. Any more so like in terms of like so I guess if I was to make some music on here, say I would probably load up one of like the breakbeat instruments and I'd be like, all right, I make my cool jungle break because that's the kind of stuff that I love doing on trackers. And then I'm like, all right, I need some melody. Maybe I'd use the MIDI instrument, but say I don't have that installed on my tracker or installed on my Steamdeck, and I want to generate some sounds. I can use your chiptune,
Right.
and I have 16 tracks, so I could make polyphonic anything I want with all the extra tracks.
The polyphonic sampler, it also has two oscillators built in. So you could you can load a sample and layer oscillators on top of it, but you can also just use it without a sample, and then you have.
So I have a polysynth.
You have a polysynth.
There's like a typical standard type.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
how do I control?
So it's like
filter cutoff, resonance, stuff like that.
So it's not very like sophisticated yet, and
in terms of like standard synthesis modulation stuff.
Yeah. So for example, like there's no parameter locking yet.
Okay.
But so we can just create one very briefly. So we set the track to polysampler and go into the pattern. And then this one here, like this column all the way on the left, this is where you select your patch.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the sampler instrument is like 8 times multitimbral as well. So basically each node can play a different sample at the same time if you wanted to.
Powerful.
So anyways, so to edit the sound, like you can either press enter when you're on this patch index.
Oh, here we go. This is what I was looking for.
Yeah, so this is like I call it patch memory, like same name as this album right now.
Oh yeah. By Shield's album.
Oh, yeah,
Patch
the wrong
memory.
way.
Lovely.
yeah, so you have like these different patches here. So 1F, whatever that is, 32 probably. And so you can like load a sample here. So it gets
Here we go. Now we're getting to the good stuff.
Getting into the file browser, like my favorite.
Can you audition from here?
You cannot yet, but
That's
it's
coming.
it's like one of these things that need to be there at some point.
Cool.
Yeah, so we could load like the sample here. I hope I didn't break anything by removing it that way. But we also have these two oscillators here. And so these are the same as in the chiptune synth. So I can just turn up the volume here. And now I have...
How do I turn it into a chord?
So for the chord, you would have to play it polyphonically.
Okay.
So we can go here.
And put in a chord memory.
Chord memory in column. So that's the note column 0.
All right. I'm already learning.
And we want to play chord 0. And then we need to go into this global menu. And there's already a chord
And
here.
there's chord 0.
That's like, oh yeah.
And chord 0 is a 4-note chords.
Exactly.
Always 4 notes.
No, you can set, like it can be up to 8 notes. I
Oh
think.
my goodness. Oh, cool. Oh, so we can do like 13th chords and
Yeah,
ninths
you
and
can
stuff.
do crazy stuff. What else can we add? 7. Oh, let's add. Like this will be pretty intense, but
All right.
so then we should probably also add like some envelope here. So attack and release, and schedule a node off somewhere. Let's maybe stop it already here, and
Oh yeah. That was a pretty smooth attack and release. That's nice.
yeah, it's like many of these things I still have to tweak. So I feel like the release, I don't really like the release curve. Like it's a bit too sudden for my
At the
taste.
end, it's a little,
Yeah.
a little quick. Could just do linear.
Yeah, I think it's currently quadratic, so I might change it to linear. Then we can add some reverb again. So what we also hear, like it's pretty distorted currently, so we can, oh, sorry, wrong screen. Just turn the volume down a little bit, like the oscillator volume, for example.
Okay.
And then, but like,
Ooh, that's not good.
so now we have super saw.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Ooh, yeah, man. That's good. Ooh, so what's the filter? Tell me about the filter.
So the filter is like a model of the ladder filter.
I knew it.
And it actually, like, for a digital filter, I'm like super happy how it sounds. So like it's code that I just stole from the internet.
Nice.
But it's like,
It sounds good. I mean, it's my favorite filter, right?
yeah, it's like, and so it has like, has like non-linear behavior as well. So it distorts, like if you turn
Drive
up
it too much?
Yeah. But like it does so in a pretty decent way.
You can turn the output of your Steam Deck up a bit.
So I think we're already at maximum, but
Let me turn it up.
yeah, another fun thing is like, so when you have, like, for example, MIDI patterns or these polyphonic patterns, like you can see the notes that it's actually triggering right now. It's like just shows you in the column.
Oh,
It's like what is
cool.
active, and like if you have,
Yeah, just like the sampler playback.
yeah, and so the breakbeats also show up here.
Sick.
And then I think this is the, so that's the pivot mixing pattern.
Oh yeah. It does work. Okay, let's stop it for 1 second. Let's re-explain pivot mixing really quickly.
Okay.
Or do you want to re-explain it?
Oh no, go ahead. If you
I
want.
don't know how well I can. I mean, I just learned about it last week from Toby on stream. But essentially what you're doing is you're having the two rhythms are mathematically divisible by the same integer,
Right.
right? That's essentially the best way I could put it. So if
Yeah.
it was like 144 BPM, 12 would be what goes, and another one is 120, 12 would go into that.
Right. So it's like, so in this tracker here, you also need to take the tick rate into account. So it's like, essentially, so like it doesn't matter in terms of the BPM since everything is already repitched for you, but you need to make sure that the ticks line up.
Okay.
And so the way I did it here is, so the breakbeat is played like 5 semitones down, which gives it like a, it's like it should be dividing by 2/3, I think, or like multiplying by 2/3. And then the table is also a little bit slower, so it's like running at 8 ticks instead of 6 ticks. And that gives you almost perfect matching. It's like up to just...
So you finessed it a little bit.
Yeah.
You were looking for the pivot there. Cool.
And like here it's just the same thing, but the breaks are swapped. And then we can go even more. Oh, sorry, no, not this one.
Making my brain explode.
So yeah, I guess that's where you can get pretty experimental with
Oh
the
my god,
breakbeats
yeah.
and stuff.
I think this would be especially cool. I mean, we keep using drums for these examples, but if we had like a melodic sample, well, I guess if you're slowing down the pitch of the sample, then that would be troublesome in
Let
that
me
regard.
See, I should maybe Zug Berlin. So I did that in a train ride to Berlin. And yeah, so so the breakbeat instrument, it can also load user samples. So here in the screen, so you can just see like I added like my own stuff in there, and like the assumption is that it's like a multiple of 16 basically in terms of the length, because it just stretches it to like to play at 16 steps, I think. And oh, whoops. And so this is sampled from my album, and so this is how it's playing back normally. And then I can put like these groove patterns on top of it. And so now you can create like additional melodies like in your breakbeats or like the samples that you loaded in there. Oh, maybe not this one.
Cool. I like these sounds.
So this is also sampled from my album.
Nice.
And
We throw another link in for people to check this out. Somebody wanted to know if this was going to be, if you were thought about open sourcing it,
so
letting other devs work on it.
for now not. Like, so for now I'm keeping it closed. I've been thinking about open sourcing it, but for now I don't want to. Like, just
It's your
it's like
project.
I
You do
want
what you
to
want,
do like
yeah.
my vision of like yeah, what like, so I want to design kind of like an instrument with it, and I feel like so there's two things to it. I think there's once like a danger that like somebody will just take the code and like can just create like an official release
Oh,
through the
right.
Steam store and like sell it and like make money off the tracker, which is something that is very hard to prevent with the open source licenses. And the other problem, yeah, I mean, like I think that's like one of the biggest worries that I have about it.
Totally,
It's
yeah,
like,
that wouldn't feel good.
and like on the other hand, I also don't think there's too many people that would even be able to work on it. Like most musicians will not be able to change the code, and it's like
Yeah, I can't.
um,
That's for sure.
and it's like, yeah, it's pretty complicated at this point. So it's like, so you would have to be very dedicated to work your way into like, so as I was describing earlier, it's like programmed in this very like generative way, and
Right.
it's I don't think it's like a well accepted way of coding in general, like how this tracker is written. So it's like the code is also kind of written like both like in the 80s, but also using like the newest like language standards and stuff, just like kind of trying to keep things easy. And
It's so unique, and it's so
yeah,
unique how you've approached it. And some of your other music projects, there have been very, very unique to say the least, in such a cool way, in such a musical way. And I'm stoked that you created this software and that you're letting people use it for free anyway, and that you
right.
came here on stream to help people understand how they can use it. And like a lot of that was like, I mean, this was probably a difficult thing for me to grok, and I'm very familiar with the Steam Deck, and I'm also very familiar with trackers.
Yeah,
So I imagine this would be really helpful that people got to see firsthand you kind of talking through the
right.
process of making some music on it, getting some stuff going. I look forward to revisiting this with you
Hmm.
in like, I don't know, 6 months from now or something. I'm sure this would be completely different. You might
Right.
have a new font, new colors, lots of new actions,
Yep. Yeah,
some
there's
quality of
lots
life
of menus
improvements.
that need to be there at some point. And
Yeah, imagine
yeah,
like this is like I'm proud of this for you, and I hope that you're really proud of this software because this is really cool. And I love the idea of turning the Steam Deck. I love this experience. I love this experience. Like we have a bunch of trackers here. We got the mini tracker by Polyend. We got, you know, the M8 tracker over here, and then we got the regular tracker. Now we got a Nerd Seek in the corner, and
right,
now we got Steam Deck tracker.
right.
And you know, we love trackers. And
Absolutely.
you love them to a degree I didn't know possible.
Yeah, and it's like the form factor is actually brilliant for the Steam Deck because it's like for me personally, I find the M8 too small for me. Like I find it uncomfortable in my shoulders, like just to hold it like that. And so this is like a way more chill experience
I
for
have
me.
the opposite. I'm having a harder time holding my, well, I don't know. I mean, I do like holding the Steam Deck, but I don't know. I don't mind the M8 one, but I understand how
Yeah, it's like just
you could get
for
more
some reason it
comfortable with
didn't
that.
work for me that well. And so, for example, like some of the things that I showed you, like I wrote these patterns like jamming out in the plane. I was just like making jungle and like having a blast. And it's like just so chill to sit in the chair there and it just works. Like you don't need a table or anything. Like it's just a very comfortable form factor.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, we got Valve
Exactly.
behind
Like,
it. Like you're getting
exactly.
to piggyback on Valve putting all that hard work in making something that's ergonomic, so you know it works. And plus, you'll be able to implement features that you haven't even thought about yet, or maybe you have, but like using these touchpads, like
Right.
those could be modulations
Exactly.
for different things. Like you should be able to like, you know, do a DJ filter on there. Like why
Right.
not? You
Yep.
know, and on the left side could be the cutoff for another instrument. Like you have all sorts of cool stuff that you could really experiment with here. And there's a gyro
Exactly.
in the Steam Deck. You could be applying the gyro to this. Like I could see this, and it's a touchscreen. So, I mean, the possibilities are pretty endless.
Right. And like also one thing that we haven't really touched on about is it's like it's basically a Linux desktop, so it just means you can plug in USB devices. So So like you can use external MIDI controllers and like, so I use it, for example, with an Expert Sleeper's audio interface so that I can control my Eurorack with it. And so like it also has like a CB gate track
Oh, it has
type.
like a modular type interface.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool. Oh yeah, you really did design an instrument for you.
Right. So it's like just like so that it fits in my setup for live performing. And so like, I mean, I keep saying like, hopefully it doesn't crash, but like, I mean, I've performed with this before.
It
and
didn't
like,
crash.
It didn't crash. And like, I intend to use this for performances. And the last time I performed, like, I changed the code like an hour before being on stage because like I had to fiddle it into my setup in some way. So like something was sending MIDI that was not supposed to, and my tracker used it. So I had to remove some code. And yeah, it's like, it's a very streamlined way to push updates out. And I do think it's like it doesn't crash for me, like when I'm playing with it. So like there's like a weird bug that I have a very hard time finding that is like when loading a new project. So sometimes it will basically like get stuck and it doesn't happen on the desktop. And so that's why I haven't really been able to find the bug. And it happens like
Randomly.
and not very often. So it's like just one
Hard
of
to
these
debug
very,
because
very
of
hard
that?
to debug ones. And it's like, you might think it's easy, but loading a project is like one of the hardest parts, like in implementing this thing. It's like tearing down whatever is running, but only partially because you cannot like close the window, for example, or like you don't want to lose your audio interface. So you have to keep some things, but like want to destroy everything around it and rebuild it. So it's like pretty intricate.
I
But
believe it.
yeah,
I
like
mean, just what you've created is intricate, and the way that you visualize things, the way that you've designed like its own coding language, like to. I mean, I don't know what kind of apps you can build within your tracker app.
yeah, I'm actually curious to see that too. It's like I can like since loading seems to work so good today, let's maybe load so I wrote this little MIDI melody thing, and I hope it still works. So basically what happens here is that I have, not this table here on the right. So it just runs this program, and this program grabs the sliders from the MIDI controller and writes the values into the pattern. So these notes here, like these were like the slider positions on this MIDI controller at some point, and we can see it. So now it's 0 because all of the MIDI CCs are 0 because we haven't done anything yet. But if I quickly grab this MIDI controller here, so now I can just dial this in.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so
that's the coolest thing I've seen yet. That's amazing.
And so this is like what I'm envisioning with this programming language, that you can just like create these placeholders and patterns and like.
Oh, dude, that's so
control
cool.
them.
You could have it so people could save them and like import them into their Shield tracker. That'd be really cool. So somebody wrote like a Shield tracker program
Right.
that's like, this is my scale generative sequencer that fits to scales.
Right.
You can download it, add it to your Shield
Yes.
tracker.
Technically you can. It's like it's gonna be
Load
a
a
little bit
project.
of fiddling, but I mean, yeah, you can load another project for sure. So like, there's currently no built-in.
I'm fiddling with it.
Yes, there's like not a like polished way to get like exchange of patterns between projects, but so for example, I wrote for myself a little script that I can just take like breakbeat patterns that I've programmed in one project and just import them in another one, and it will like take all of the tables that it needs to do it and like bring it over. But it's like, now that programs are there, it's a bit more messy still.
Okay.
But yeah, ideally at some point there's like just something that allows you to merge these projects together.
Cool. Well, dope, man. Good. This is awesome. Thank you for coming on to the stream and sharing
you're
this
welcome.
with us. And I hope that we get to have you on again.
Yeah, totally.
Like when I would love to have you come back and do this with me again, and then like let's like start a track from scratch once there's even more tools.
Right.
And
like maybe also just like a tutorial or something like. So I showed like all of these different screens that exist, but like maybe start a bit more from the basics, like yeah, like
Yeah, no, this was
Like-
this was a great overview. There's so much to like digest in your
Right.
tracker that I can't imagine it would take hours and hours of like some thorough diving in yourself
right.
to really understand it. And I'm sure there's some people that have already been diving in on your Discord,
Right.
your Shield Tracker Discord. And I put the link in there for everybody to download it, and I would love for people to check out Shield Tracker's software for your Steam Deck, because it's totally free, and he's making this out of the goodness of his heart, as he's done
Right.
with other projects, and it's obviously extremely cool and very retro, and I
Thank
love
you.
the aesthetic, and I love this whole. I wish we had even more time to dive into what we're doing with the MIDI controllers, but we are running low on time today to keep going into this. But also want to mention, check out Patch Memory by Hair Shield, which is Christoph, who just created this amazing tracker for everybody. His album is out now. You can get it on Bandcamp. It's also available on Spotify and all streaming
it's-
platforms.
Yeah, it's available on vinyl. So like it says sold out on Bandcamp, but you can get it at Patchworks and Selector Records in Seattle if you want the vinyl version. It's like-
Patchworks. You can get it at Patchworks.
Yeah,
Go to
and-
Patchworks.
and it has like colored vinyls and yeah, just check
So
it out.
cool. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the stream and sharing
Thank
with
you
us.
for having me.
We're also grateful. Some people were saying thank you in the chat, and there were some really great questions in there. And thank you everybody for hanging out and checking this out. Shield Tracker, it's available for your Steam Deck right now. And I'll have some links in the video description. Also, some
Yep.
links to Shield's music. Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. And I'll see you again later this week. Probably dive into some more tracker stuff, or maybe jump onto the Electron bandwagon, 'cause it's been a little bit since we visited there. My name's Matthew, aka EZBOT. If you want to support these streams, you can visit patreon.com/EZBOT, or just leave a nice comment and a like on the stream, and that would help out a lot. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.